Hello, intrepid experimenters. Back for another week. The reading I did last week turned out to be sadly true. The timing might have been a little bit off, although I think events did kick off in the 24 hours after that reading, which was to look at something building some kind of difficult energy, and the reading turned up probably radicalized actors, and that sort of thing. And indeed, there were a series of tragic examples of that occurred last week. So this week I want to get back to focusing a little bit more on the energy stuff, but if you're interested in the prophecy ability of using intuition, go back and look at last week's video and consider the events that occurred after it was done, and you can sort of link in and see how the cards can help bring us some information about certain energies that appear to be around in buildings. So definitely try that. Also click like, subscribe, leave comments here, help us get engagement on these videos. But this week I'm going back to look more at some energy things. And one thing that is a theory of mine is that all religious texts are essentially humans attempting to interpret and describe the energy, much as we did in the reading last week, to try to interpret the energy. So the writings of humans of religious nature are their attempts to explain the energy and the various energy faculty experiences they're having, whether that's as dreams or intuitions or knowings. That's all coming out of our energy faculties. And so I suggest that humans need to stop getting sidetracked in the interpretations of various faiths and people and historical figures, and start to focus on understanding instead about the energy directly. What is that energy that creates spirituality and the epiphanies and experiences and otherworldly elements to what people have interpreted as spiritual energy, and leading to beliefs in all these interpretations as being real, when it's the energy behind whatever the interpretation became that is something real and needs to be looked at. So it's not so much, was Jesus real? Is the Christ real? The question is, what is that energy that keeps leading us to look for Christ, to look for that interpretation? What's really the energy? What's that? And is that something that we can understand how it is generated and how it functions in the earth life field to sustain life, which it seems to be clearly the intention of the energy life field that we live in on earth. All right, so what I think I'll do is bring you down and throw a reading on what is the energy behind the interpretations of religious texts, and we'll see what the cards have to say. All right, hold on, I'll bring you down. Alrighty, so we're going to use the Crow Tarot and the Pocket Shaman, Pocket Oracle, which I love. They're just easiest for me to read. I'll do a few last shuffles here, and then we'll start pulling cards for tell us about this energy that's behind religious writings. What is the energy they seek to interpret? What is it we should be looking at instead of their interpretations? What is the actual energy? What can we know about the actual energy itself? All right, let's see if the cards, we got one thrown up right away. Look at that. Interesting. All right. So we start with the Wheel of Fortune. So what is the energy? What is the energy? It's the energy that drives the wheel of fortune. Is that like driving the wheel of life, the wheel that keeps the journey going on the path, you know, that drives the good luck, the fortune? And let's see what clarifiers we get on that. Oh, we got one right away. Cards really want to read on this. That's encouraging. Oh, second one. All right. So, what's the initial clarifier? Upper world. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So what this is saying is that the signifier, what we're reading on, is the wheel, the energy that drives the wheel, that is the wheel, the changing fates, the, you know, change and movement of the upper world, the energy of the upper world. Now that could be the cosmic world, obviously, meaning outside of the earth in the universe. That world's energy is part of what drives the whole earth, reality and experiences, and that this is an attempt. This energy is that we're trying to look at is the energy that drives not only earth but the cosmos. I'd probably read it that way at this point. We'll see. The challenge, 2 of Pentacles. This is about that balance, that juggling. It's the second. So when you have an ace, it represents the new part of that particular suit. When we're talking Pentacles, it's about earth well-being. So when you reach the second one, that's where you suddenly have duality and choice come in to play. And how one makes those choices and looks at it has a direct result effect on the suit, in this case, well-being. So this energy, working with the energy, knowing the energy, is challenged by our own sense of duality, is how I would read that. And, oops, sorry. And that is clarified by the rattle. The rattle is that gift of the Wakaya, the lightning and thunder beings in the traditional stories of some traditional peoples. The rattle, it's like the drum in a sense. It tells you, it beats that something is coming. So when you hear the rattle, it precedes something. It's also about agitating the stones that are in the rattle. So those earth energies become agitated and they create a sound and a resonance and a song of their own. So this says to me is that the challenge of understanding the energies has to do with our ideas around duality and, getting stuck in rattling, shaking the rattle for our own interpretation. That's how I would read that. We'll see how the rest comes out. What we have control over is the 7 of Swords. That is about, the thief in the night, taking our duality or leaving our duality, or taking some of what is ours and leaving, or maybe taking what belongs to others and leaving. And it's something that we have control of over how our thinking is directed, whether it is straightforward or whether it is co-opted, taken from us, that kind of thing. And that is as clarified by the seer. So I would read this as we have control over seeing how our thoughts are manipulated. So when we understand the true energy rather than the texts, then we have control over how we think, what we do with it, our own agency, understanding boundaries, what's ours and what's not. The past affecting the situation is the moon. Higher Arcana card talks about obscurity and cycles. Talks about misinterpretation and lunacy as well in certain circumstances. I would say in this case, in the past, there has been a lot of obscurity about cycles and their effect on us. And this is clarified by Time Master. Okay, so perhaps what this is saying is that the energy that we interpret as spiritual in the higher realm helps determine and affect cycles of the planets and time itself. Interesting. What we cannot control, Two of Swords, and that again is a decision, a thinking that is split, a split and a not, maybe not wanting to look at it. So again, this could be duality. We don't want to make a choice, or confronting the energy and relying on someone else's interpretation is because we don't want to try to interpret it ourselves. We're not willing to make that choice ourselves. Sorry, move these down just a little bit here. Could be that. And that says clarified by the middle world. Yeah, okay. I think in the middle world, what we can't control is that no one has got it quite right. No one who writes down their interpretation can get it quite right, because they're coming from their own and in their own situation, and that's not going to apply to everyone the same way. What this creates, what we intend, or what our intentions out of this create in the short term, is the Three of Pentacles. That's about working behind the scenes on well-being, crafting a legacy. You know, so the interpretations that we are willing to accept instead of looking at the energy creates a legacy. Or we are always, as humans, trying to build something of well-being, to create a legacy, to come together, at least at some level in a triad, you know, that threesome of energy, to create something. And that is clarified by the Child. Oh, okay, yes. So this is really saying to me that a lot of what the spiritual or life field energy is bringing adults together to create children. Really, literally. So the energy of the life field, rather than being what's interpreted to be in various things, is really about perpetuating a life field by creating a situation where species can have children and can propagate. How we see ourselves in relation to this is the Ten of Wands. It's you know, it's a heavy burden on our passions. People find trying to identify the energy or the energy itself's effect on their life from either the interpretations and religious beliefs they have, or from not investigating it, not understanding. It creates a burden. There's a big burden on their passion energy, their desire to do things. It restricts people kind of energy. And as that is clarified by Magic. So how we see ourselves is burdened by not being able to understand the mystical and the magical aspects of the energy. The environment in which we sit, Ace of Pentacles. This is about being in a position to a new kind of well-being, bringing in new well-being, or maybe feeling not advanced beyond the initial well-being. It's like we're always looking for a gift. We want that to come into us, this well-being from outside. There's aspects of that in this card, as clarified by the curse. So I think this is saying, in relation to this energy, that we struggle to work with the more mystical aspects of. There seems to be and some misunderstanding of how well-being comes in, like in an environment where things that would create well-being are cursed, instead of accepted and worked with, because it doesn't fit in our burden somehow. Hopes and fears. Another higher arcana, the Hanged Man. There's a that's hope and fear in things stopping, and reflection, looking at things from a different way. So obviously there's a lot of fear among religious people that looking at what's behind the interpretations that are their religion somehow suspends the reality of what they've learned or what they use or any of that, as clarified by many paths. Yeah, they're really struggle to understand that there could be many paths. And there is also hope in understanding there are many paths to well-being or whatever, when you're looking at the energy rather than the interpretations. And the final outcome for this, Two of Wands. So, this energy sort of has us in a position to come together and observe and contemplate all worldly things. In this deck, it really is, though, passions going against each other, so they're like back to back and crossing their passions. So, they're not really coming from the same place, but it leads to the same place. And I think that's what we're saying, is whether you follow a particular interpretation of the energy, or you look at the energy itself, it's an attempt, and it will bring us to sort of looking at the same opportunities on Earth, as clarified by the Ghost Dance, which I talked about last week. This card came up as well. The Ghost Dance was brought in by Lakota or Dakota people. I think it was a Nakota person, Wavoka. And it was to bring back the energy, ceremonies, and work directly with the energy to restore the people to live, was what that, when they were threatened by being destroyed by the nation that was colonizing what had been their world for thousands of years, and it was taken from them. So this is saying that what happens when you look at the energy as opposed to the interpretations is, you see, really they're looking at the same thing, but this is about bringing back the ability to work with the energies directly. I think that's pretty extraordinary. Bottom of the deck on this one is the Three of Wands. And so this is like creating not a commitment, but at least an agreement of the three kinds of world passions to look at this. It sets us up and prepares us to bring in change, to bring in good fortune. It's that waiting for your ship to come in kind of thing. And that's as clarified by, oh, the earth keeper. So I'd say that looking at the energy brings all of us together with the energies that actually take care of the earth. Yeah, that's how I read it. Hold on, and I'll bring you up, and we'll close it out. Well, okay. So I'm going to interpret this reading to say that the cards do seem to indicate there's, nothing wrong with studying the interpretations in, that is, the Bible or other religious books. But it's really in understanding and studying the energy itself that we can come to a place where we can actually work with it to bring well-being so that, we can all thrive. And that requires us, at the base of it all, underlying it all, is to bring our own passions into agreement with that's required by Earth herself, upon which this life field is, and that we live in. We have to work with that energy as well. So I think that's probably not wildly radical or anything. I'd appreciate your input, though. Leave a comment. If you looked at the cards yourself, let me know what you think they mean, and let's have a discussion about it. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. All right? Love you guys.